Welcome, friends and family. This is Michael Dove, and I'm very happy to present Andy Kozloski. Andy lives in Thailand, and he's a spiritual practitioner, teacher, and has a very interesting story and background, and much to tell and much to teach us. And so without further ado, Andy, how are you?
Amazing, Michael. Thank you for having me at this very moment. Constantly know that you have been able to spell my last name correctly. So thank you for that. Thank you for having me on the show. I believe we're going to have a splendid conversation that will be a tool that can be used for those that are listening to open their eyes and open their hearts to wonders and mysteries of the universe, to see what's
Mm,
truly possible.
absolutely, absolutely. And as with most of us who do this kind of work, teaching and working with people, what I find is that we all kind of have a story. We have a
Mm.
story about how we got to do the things that we do. And so I would like to hand it to you to hear a little bit about how you came to be this person that does this kind of work for people in a spiritual way.
If you're asking about the story that I tell the story to myself, it all became with the simple fact that my mission was always to teach, guide, and serve others. But being a prodigal son, I had an issue with accepting that because I was born as an empath and a psychic, so I perceived reality through completely different lenses than others. And being an empath, the right choice is not only the right choice, but it is the only choice. And the world and people abuse those that give freely of themselves to others. So by that, I have been treated unjustly countless times, which gave me this false belief that people are evil, but deep within I was evil, that there was something rotting within me, and it was this emotion, pent up emotion, that me myself I was treating unjustly. So I started this journey to see what's wrong with me, and the journey itself was faulty because there was nothing wrong with me. Nature, God, universe doesn't make mistakes. And you are here on this planet to experience exactly what your soul wants and needs on this journey of discovering who you truly are. So, since I started from that frame of the mind, the journey took me countless years, and I had to clock in countless experiences, meditate countless hours, just to realize that there's nothing wrong with me. I am perfect as everything is perfect between heaven and earth, and that is only our ego saying otherwise, because me, I can only be me. Everyone else is already taken. And that leads to the question, what exactly is me? Is it my name? Is it Andy? Or is it the spirit that is using Andy to experience himself? So, through my journey, I've realized that what we have been given should be used as a tool. The body should be used as a tool. The mind should be used as a tool. And emotions should be used as a tool. But somehow on this journey, to make it entertaining and worthwhile, the game cannot be easy. So we forgot those simple facts and we allow the tools to use us. So we are like this dog chasing its own tail without any real results. But our ego tells us to do things. Our minds tell us to do things. And our body tells us to do things. It is especially visible in the Western culture that we are obsessed with what's seen on the first glance. Like we see the tip of the iceberg, but we don't see what's underneath. And in many cases, that leads us astray because we are fascinated with the hardest asanas, hardest meditation, or hardest movements. But in truth be told, if we are just starting, that won't be beneficial for us at all. If you would go to the gym on the first day, you wouldn't start to bench press 400 pounds because you will get hurt. And that is something that we as a humankind, as a society, often forgot. And there are repercussions, consequences to our action, and ours no different. You can say that on this journey of knowing who I am, who I'm truly deep within, I made all the mistakes possible. And thankfully, I have been able to transform those mistakes into experience. And eventually, those with enough experiences can be named as a master because they are able to let go of their ego, and there is no longer friction between their emotions or thoughts with the universe, nature, or God. They become one with God, universe, or nature, and as such, all is given to them because all that power that speaks through them is at their grasp of the fingers. And that power, once you let go and you become an actor for its benefit on the stage of life, you, by becoming a puppet, you become a puppeteer of your own destiny because you are no longer using your ego to achieve things. You are using the power of the universe that is within you, around you, always to do things. Your only objective is not to interfere with the process. So have an empty mind and open heart that would allow you to do what is required when God asks to do.
Hmm. Uh-huh. Well, this reminds me of something I've often told my students. What I tell them is to let the universe do the heavy lifting. It's like you allow the universe to do the heavy lifting. And I'm very taken by your story because I know that so many of us have had to overcome things, have been forced to sort out what is true, what is right, what is true, to be able to find the goodness, to find our goodness and such. And I know that so many people can relate to the to that struggle, and then it's about moving through that in order to find your power and your mastery. Um, there is the what's called the path of the wounded healer. It's like people who've overcome enough to be able to help others, be able to help others. And so this is kind of what I'm hearing, amongst other things, in your story. Does that feel about right, or?
That's perfectly fine, assuming that is only part of the picture because the
Hmm.
truth is that you might perceive some things as true, while on the other hand, I might perceive them as false. And you
Hmm.
might wonder who of us is right or wrong. In reality, the most likely scenario is that we are actually both wrong. but what we experience is real, and it is all about experiences in this
Yeah.
universe and realm. And me, as a wounded kid, and I believe that relates to every highly sensitive person out there,
Uh-huh.
we have been born with families with really bad karma that our ancestors were not able to work through, so that burden kind of lays on our shoulders right now. And since most of us had to become super cautious of our environment early on, we became like super reactors to things. When we
Uh-huh.
feel love, it's amazing because we feel it multiplied. But when we feel hate or anger, it's also multiplied. So
Hmm.
in a way, instead of having 5 fingers in our hand, it seems like we have 50 fingers. We
Uh-huh.
are able to experience so much more, but on the other hand, that is a
Hmm.
double-edged sword because if we are experiencing negativity, that's gonna impact us much, much on a bigger scale than compared
Uh,
to someone who hasn't been born with this gift.
mhm. Okay. And I like that you you tend to work with and like to work with highly sensitive people. And I was wondering if you could, you know, tell us a little bit about that. What's that like, and why that in particular seems to be a focus for you.
Empaths or highly sensitive people resonate with me very deeply because I'm an empath myself. So I
Mm-hmm.
know those struggles and I have been able to overcome them not only to survive but to thrive. And being an empath, the biggest challenge is actually that when we interact with others, are sponging negative emotions from that third party. And that can happen to many different reasons because you cannot fix it, heal it without going to the root of the issue. And
Mm.
mostly it's either pent up emotion like anger or fear, or the simple fact that this particular empath is a daydreamer. His thoughts as emotion, even his soul is elsewhere. So when he's interacting with others, it's very easy for those people energies to invade his body and make it his own. And that is making the person overwhelmed by simple fact that he doesn't want to be in that setting and he would do absolutely anything to end that interaction. And
Mm-hmm.
that starts a vicious cycle because as everyone, especially the younger people, we want to be perceived a particular way. And what happens is basically we freeze, we stop breathing, our belly sinks, and we kind of look stupid, and we're not even in fight or flight syndrome, we're in a freeze syndrome. So while we are looking stupid, and we are thinking about that interaction afterwards that we are feeling way worse and we don't know what happened, but we have those big plans that the next time this will happen, we will act differently, we will say different words, we will behave differently, and then when that interaction happens again, we do exactly as we did before. We stop breathing, our belly sinks, we freeze, and we look stupid. We want to end the interaction at any cost. So we
Mm.
function emotion. And there could be various and countless ways how you could fix that because there are many ways to achieve things. And you can either work with the body to ensure it is rooted using basic concept of martial arts, or I believe even yoga, which have been lost while they have been important to the West. Again, we have been focusing only yoga or qigong or tai chi chuan. It
Mhm.
seems that become a fitness class. We see the tip of the iceberg, but not what's underneath. So without the correct position of the body between heaven and earth, yoga will make your mind weak and qigong will make your body corrupted. Because by correctly routing your body, you are giving away the surplus of energy back to the mother earth. Not only that, your yin, which is the fluid energy, it's
Mhm.
revitalizing your body, and by having your feet strongly on the ground, grasping it, it will massage your internal organs, promoting your longevity because there are so many not ending in the food. This is something that is very helpful and should be practiced by pretty much everyone, and it is easy to implement, especially if your wish is to work with energies or yoga or qigong in the future as well, because
Mhm.
that opens up the energy pathways for you to practice even harder asanas or positions or flows. You can
Uh-huh.
obviously work with the mind, and it depends because we could say that there are people that perceive life through the lenses of their thoughts, and for those people, spiritual means wouldn't be really beneficial because they are not yet ready for them. It is like forcing a flower to bloom. It will have its repercussions. So in those type of scenarios, it's better to work with the mind, but usually impacts are more advanced and can use the mind as its tool to a
Mhm.
degree and go beyond the thinking and explore the reality through the lenses of the emotions and in some case even the spirit, which is as a game which life is very similar to. The game does not get easier while you advance. Quite contrary, the game gets much easier, much harder because you need to learn and discard bigger things. While on
Oh,
the fast
certainly.
level, yeah,
Mhm.
while on the fast level, what you need to do is simply stay alive. And on those levels,
Yeah.
you think that the soul, the spirit, is kind of like mumbo jumbo for the crazy people. And that's perfectly fine because all flowers bloom in due time, and for those to be on advanced level, there needs to be people that are on the low level. And in a degree, a soul has chosen to experience that. So the experience is neither bad or good. It is something that we are experiencing, and what
Mhm.
matters is what transformation it follows. While on the other hand, when you have been born on the highest plane of incarnation, what you need to transcend is basically your soul. You need to let go of your soul, mind, and body so you can become one with the universe and don't create those frictions between yourself, your aura, and
Mhm.
the universe, nature. So it's something a very, very hard thing to do, and not many people are able to do because they are attached to their souls, bodies, minds,
Uh-huh.
their favorite food, relationship, and many, many others. You might say that
Yeah.
this journey called life is about discarding things. So this is something you can also work with impacts to using NLP, or I believe that the best method is actually due to outstanding result just to be immune to negative emotion is something that I learned and modified while I was learning Silva mindfulness techniques,
Uh-huh.
which have this belief that everyone to a degree is a psychic, and NLP that works only on the mind, which is the
Mhm.
electrical charge of the humankind.
Yeah.
If you have, for example, once you do an activity, that activity is followed by emotion, which creates magnetical charge. So if you change only your thinking and you not your feelings, those two will
Yeah.
crash. like
Hmm.
different energies. So it will decrease the time span because those energies will wreak havoc inside the body. It's similar if you could put boiling water in a cup and then put it into the fridge. That cup will break itself because when those two forces clash, something needs to
Yeah,
break, and in that case,
yeah,
it will be our body.
yeah.
So,
The internal conflict can make us ill, certainly.
yes, it's many times it is actually the cause
Mhm.
of the illness in the first place
Yeah,
that
yeah.
manifests on the body. And
Hmm.
in Qigong, in Shaolin, they say that all of the illnesses are a result of the pent up, not processed energy in the body. So if it's an illness that usually affects impulse, it's going to be either kidneys or liver because those are responding to anger and fear. And
Uh-huh.
actually, in traditional Chinese medicine, the kidneys give energy to the liver, while liver gives energy to the heart. So if you have one organ that is imbalanced, it might lead to the other organs being imbalanced as well. So it's very beneficial to study
Yeah.
arts like Qigong, yoga to ensure it is
Uh-huh.
in alignment.
Yeah, yeah. I quite agree. Um, and I know that you've worked with people. Can you give us an example of like someone that you've helped to kind of uh, heal and recover?
I used to work with different set of people, and
Hmm.
they used to come with me with very advanced spiritual problems that you might
Mm-hmm.
say demons or exorcisms, which nowadays should be explained as faulty gene expression, as that belief of our ancestors that went astray and is no longer serving its purpose because genes can downregulate, and that often is cause of the issue. And our ancestors' beliefs, their experiences, their trauma are always within us, programmed into the genes. It's called epigenetics, it's called
Hmm.
karma, it's called original sin. So I
Hmm.
have been helping a lot of those peoples that have been problems with what so-called demons because but what I've observed, since this is what would take a highly advanced person to just let go, it usually, even if you exorcise that demon, they always come back because
Uh-huh.
human want them to come back. And
Yeah.
demons is basically another face of gods, that's the same energy. So most of the demons are gods actually with different face and name,
Hmm.
and that is
Yes.
because humans have created it. In a
Yes.
way, it
Exactly.
is another tool created by humans in a way because they haven't created it consciously. And then because it all started with the simple idea that God has created humans in his image, and humans reciprocated and created gods on their image. And
Hmm.
when there are many people believing the same thing, that energy creates things firstly in the void, in the field, and then if there is a proper energy charge, it will be passed to later generations. You could
Hmm.
see that Western civilization has been built on Christianity. So everyone knows who's Satan, who's Jesus. It is basically like Phyllis,
Yeah.
our subconsciousness. It is how our subconsciousness is built. And there are many other archetypes that are passed into our genes that, well, are nothing else but a tool. So if it is teaching us something, let's say fear, for example, if that fear is teaching you that there is nothing wrong and it is just a way for you to realize who you are, and the fear should be tamed like this wolf that is just sitting across the fire when primitive humans first encountered dogs, it's perfectly
Uh-huh.
fine. But if you allow fear to use you, that you will just stop breathing and don't know what to do, then it's
Uh-huh.
not something your purpose at all. So it is what is serving you and what is serving you not. Nowadays, I mostly focus on impasse because I have
Hmm.
studied countless ways and invested countless energy to not only fix the problems holistically, but since we live in a day and age where everyone wants things solved very soon,
Uh-huh.
I have
Yes. Exactly.
found basically that method that I mentioned that makes you immune to negative emotion, which can be implemented in approximately 40 days. And that solves pretty much all of the problems of an empath. And
Mm.
then you can really thrive. And to ensure that you can thrive, we delve deep into that pent up emotion of anger or fear or anything that holds you down so you can actually process it as well and you have solid foundation before you start building the roof, which often is an issue that we start building from the roof and
Hmm.
then without foundation it all drops on your head while you're eating breakfast with your family.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me. I often tell the people I work with is a similar kind of thing. Um, that when we hold on to an energy of helplessness, then it makes us vulnerable. And then we essentially ultimately kind of scare ourselves. So it's like the demons, as you pointed out, are of our own imagination. It's just another face of what is. So I think that's very, very, very valid and very powerful. And well, good. And let's see. Uh, I'm
We're
curious
giving
in
power to that we don't understand. And
mhm,
for example, the demons is again
uh-huh,
nothing else than a tool. But if you inspect it from different points of view on what soul, which level the soul is, for example, the people that are experiencing reality through the lenses of survival and maybe even thoughts wouldn't be able to fathom even that idea if you talk to them about the genes being incorrectly expressed that
uh-huh,
might ring a bell. And then we have more emotional people and then spiritual people. And maybe
mhm,
once you experienced reality through the lenses of emotions, then obviously the soul is ready to take pics of the real reality. So there's this window opening between the eyebrows and the soul takes pics. And it's usually those people that can interact with demons, see demon, but since it is very different, they don't have to learn from what they are experiencing. They somehow put too much power to those energies and that's fighted very easily. They do not know that all of that has been created by humans and from the
uh-huh.
field which
Yes, yes,
and they gave it too much power and when something is given power it frightens you and it easily can impact you. So that is the issue
mhm,
I would say with the people that have been born on this sixth incarnational level that they have open open third eye from the get-go, the channels to channel of energy. It's very
uh-huh,
demanding for sure because there's not many people like that and you, you by going beyond the senses or sometimes people don't even need to go beyond the senses on that level. They see so much more and they don't really have someone to talk to that they think they're crazy and it is an issue and it is very
mm,
challenging life to experience. But the truth be told, those people only have glimpses of what the reality is. And since most of the time they are still experiencing reality to their egos, their thoughts and feelings, in a way they're still hallucinating. But when they are using, they're going beyond the senses, they see those things and they think this is the reality. which in fact it is reality, but it is not reality. It is real for them, but definitely it is the experience is real, but only for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very, very powerful insight. Um, I'm also curious. What do you most enjoy about your work? Yeah, yeah, about your work and working with people. What do you most enjoy about it?
It was something that was always with me, and the idea that I can be of use to someone, that I can serve them, was always outstanding. And that moment, that short period of time when they are liberated, when they transcend what has been holding them back, and there's this huge energy release, is a
Mm,
fantastic feeling.
hmm. Yeah, excellent. That's so much of what draws us into this kind of work is that seeing, that witnessing, like the growth and the liberation and relief from suffering is such a, such a wonderful, like a wonderful, powerful thing. And so if someone were to like come to you like with a problem or an issue or something that they can't understand, um, what could they expect? Like how would you uh, engage them so that they could begin their healing and their realization process?
Since I was a very young child, I had been guided by a master from traditional Chinese medicine. And he was that kind of person when you entered his room, he immediately knew everything about you. And he used
Mhm.
the pulse reading to know what is going within your body. So he touched your pulse, your wrist, and he was like, "Oh, you had a cookie 2 hours ago, and you drank some coffee with it." Like, yes, yes, you're having bad dreams. Yes, yes. And in a way, he was asking those rhetorical questions that he already knew answer to, just for you to start observing the body.
Mhm.
So the first step in any diagnosis is to see what is truly the issue. You cannot put any recovery steps if you don't fully understand what is the issue, because
Mhm.
it's not only like putting a band-aid on broken knee, you can actually do some harm. So first, I observed what is with that person. If that is an impact, that observation doesn't really take long, because I've worked with so many of them that I can pinpoint it really fast. But let's
Mhm.
assume it's someone that has a different issue. So kind of like using this esoteric knowledge of reading the aura, you can see if there are any leaks or if there is something stuck because someone abuses some substances, and those causes leaks in the energy field. So, you know,
Uh-huh.
if those are present, what can you do if you have like a bin that's a hole in it? No matter how much you pour in it, it would still be leaking. So that needs to
Mhm.
be fixed as soon as possible. And in most ways, it's very easy to fix. You just need to make it right, and then
Yeah.
it's up to that person to live as that has been fixed and
Uh-huh.
do new things and stop being the person that has caused those leaks in the first place.
Uh-huh.
Then you observe where the energy is pent up, because that will also tell you what is the person struggling with. So let it be anger. So obviously that's gonna be frustration. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
liver. I say
Uh-huh.
liver. It's gonna be
Ah.
frustration and anger. And Taoists long time ago observed that everything is kind of like music, vibration. that the internal
Mhm.
organs relate to colors, to sounds, and to some traits. Like, for example, the liver should correspond to generosity. So you need to transform this anger, frustration into generosity for it to
Yeah.
work properly. And that is something that is called internal alchemy of Tao. So
Mhm.
it is highly, highly beneficial art. I would also recommend opening all the energy channels, at least the major one that goes in this cosmic loop, starting
Uh-huh.
from the Tantian to your legs, to your back, to your hands, and finishing by the head to your Tantian as well.
Yeah.
Tantian is like mm, it's around the second energy center, which is in yoga, because many
Uh-huh.
people have found by observing pretty much the same thing. And yoga actually, Shaolin Kung Fu has roots in yoga actually, because there was this great sage called Bodhidharma that once traveled from India to China to teach people how to live properly. And eventually they have named him
Yeah.
the master of Shaolin. So it's those are, if you look at it closely, Kung Fu and Hatha Yoga are very similar. It has the same goal in mind
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
opening channels. And then there is
Oh,
Qigong,
okay.
which I would pretty much say it's very similar to Kundalini Yoga, or I would say that esoteric
Mm.
Tao is more similar to Kundalini Yoga. So
Uh-huh.
there are countless ways that you can help someone or serve someone, but it's not about the method because the method itself is meaningless. You can help someone by having faith, which is this glue which amplifies any method that is
Mhm.
used. And if faith itself is high enough, there is absolutely no need to use the method in the first place. But since you come to me, I assume that there is something wrong with the faith, and impacts have, due to
Mhm.
this vicious cycle of
Ah,
decreasing their self-worth, have been struggling a lot with this. Like,
uh-huh.
then these basic activities like going to the people might be overwhelming, like doing groceries or laundry when you have to see other people, because deep within you want to say something but you're not able to, and it cultivates anger and fear.
Yeah.
And eventually you start losing respect to yourself, which is
Yeah.
always destination to existence full of grief and sadness.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I have a. It's interesting because it brings up something that I've observed with people, and over the years, I've done like soul retrieval for
Mm.
individuals.
Oh,
Sometimes people come to me for like a soul retrieval, and it's interesting. And when I do the soul retrieval, I've learned to always add kind of a diagnostic as you do, and
mm,
much education for that person to understand why they lost their soul in the first place. What was the leak about that created the
mm.
energy loss, the soul loss in the first place? And so I was curious about if you've seen that, and perhaps the kind of training and education and information that you give people so that they are aware enough to keep their energy, to keep their
You mean
soul, keep
like
their soul.
scenario when the soul left the body, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it usually comes through trauma or some kind
Mm,
of difficulty,
mm,
or an emotional
mm.
thing that makes people sort of lose.
There could be various reasons why that happens. Some people believe that the soul, especially for those more advanced souls, leave the body during the sleep so it can regenerate in the souls. But
Mhm.
let's say a soul has learned everything that is to be learned in this life, because the human ego kept it in check and didn't allow for that soul
Mhm.
to grow. And the body got hindered with many illnesses, and the soul is ready to go beyond. I actually had this case where there was a family and there was a wife and a husband, and the husband was seriously ill, and the wife was willing to do anything to make him
Hmm.
healthy again, but the soul didn't really want to come back to the body. Like it said
Mm.
that it is time basically, and it's very hard to say someone that it is time to let go because the soul learned what it needed to learn, and that is an attachment. I know it's gonna be very cruel to say, but attachments always leads to pain, and nothing lasts forever.
Oh, certainly,
But there are
certainly.
also uh, other ways, like when the soul leaves the body, when basically you allow your ego to roam free and do crazy stuff. Um, I remember this one time when my mother is very particular human being.
Hmm.
She was going to some vacation and she was going from one extreme to another. So it was from very cold to very hot. And I told her that it is not beneficial because she's already sick and she's going to be even more sick. But obviously, she didn't listen and she went anyway. And she came
Hmm.
back and then she didn't really drink enough fluids, and then she got in the argument with my father and she just went sit somewhere in the garden, and I see that her soul is basically leaving the body, so I just cut it back, bring it back to the body, and she just stand
Hmm.
up, went to the sofa to lay down, and I started explaining to my mother while I was massaging her wrists to let go of the fire within the heart and giving her something which we call comfort, which is a you put fruits in the water and you boil it, and it has this energy that is especially beneficial for people that have heat issues. They have too much yang within themselves. It's very beneficial because if there is a boiling issue, like there's too much heat, and you put like ice on it, it will create fumes, and the fumes will attack
Hmm.
the lungs, the heart, even the brain,
Hmm.
which obviously is not very beneficial. So
Hmm.
I started giving her this drink, massaging her wrists to somehow cope with the heat that has been created from within. And I
And,
started to explain to her that she has been going from one extreme to another, that put
hmm.
a toll on the body, that she didn't drink enough fluids, that she had some emotional unprocessed issues. And eventually, the pulse came back normal again. And she's like, oh, yes, I understand. I understand. I ate nuts. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of also like saying that when the soul leaves the soul is not able to just cope with what you're doing. The ego is doing to the body. So it's just like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna leave. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't respect yourself. So there could be
Hmm.
various reasons why it happened in the first place. And it's not always right to take the soul back. If it's something like the soul is not comfortable within the body, right? And it's pretty
Hmm.
much 90% of the case. Make it comfortable for the soul in the first place. So
Ah.
see where there's energy pent up and try to push the energy using different means like acupressure is good in a way. Herbs are even better to be honest. Or yeah, I believe herbs or homeopathy, which I believe
Hmm.
is the medicine of the future because it doesn't work on the atom, it works on the frequency creating the atom. So one might say that it is a quantum healing medicine, but people
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
really grasp that yet. So it
Hmm.
has lots of
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
many
Yeah.
ways.
This. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I appreciate that you speak a lot about the differences in like attitude and approaches between the West and the East. So this is kind of like a two-part question. It's like if you want to elaborate about your sense of that and your understanding of that, and then also that right now you're living in the East. It's like you're living in Thailand, and was wondering if you would maybe share with us how you find yourself there, how and what
Mm,
you are doing and learning, like in
mm.
Thailand.
I find myself by not finding. I use the duality to my benefit because
Hmm.
this world is based on duality. So from day to night, from night to day, from long to short, and from short to long. So I use it to
Hmm.
my benefit, and by not searching, I am found. And by not growing, I am growing. And pretty much each day, I learn more about the arts that fascinate me. And the most that I read about is obviously Tao and Qigong and Shaolin Kung Fu. So there is always something to learn, and that can be a trap itself too, because you want more, 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 which activates the left part of the brain, which is very Western-like approach. And when you
Hmm.
over activate the left part of the brain, we tend to overthink, and we deplete our aura that is used for living, creation, and healing. And this is the issue of the Western civilization, because let's compare it for a few seconds to like esoteric Tao, which is like 8,000 years old. You have Ayurveda, which is like 5,000 years old. Our medicine is like 180 years old. There is absolutely, it is like a child, and we are like these kids lost in the fog using matches to see what's uh, in front of us. And
Hmm.
we tend to believe that we can understand everything using our minds, which is not possible at all, because we have
Yeah,
limitations that we call beliefs, and it is just a glorified way of saying restrictions. And
certainly.
then those restrictions, the mind is using us. So the mind show us what the mind wants to show us, and we are trapped into this never-ending loop called karma or original sin, that the life repeats itself, but a bit differently each time to confuse you that it's actually something different. Yet in fact it is completely the same, the energy is the same, but you are
Mm.
somehow into believing that. So we have a problem that we believe that we can understand the soul using our mind, while in fact you can understand mind using mind and soul using soul only. And again, this is a tool. So if you allow the tool to use you, let's say we're gonna use fitness as an example, and the fitness in Western can be absolutely anything. It can be martial arts, it can be yoga, it can be qigong,
Yeah.
fitness to the gym. People use like concepts of set reps, and when it happens you're always thinking about something, you're not fully experiencing the movement, and that's gonna deplete your energy level, and due to that you will need to take rest days, and only on working on the internal you're actually damaging the body, because it grows the ego, and then the stronger the ego is, the weaker the soul is. And to
Hmm.
contrast, like Shaolin monks train pretty much every day, actually every day, and they train for hours. So the first
Uh-huh.
step is actually to let go of the mind, so you can focus about the movement, about the breathing, about being spiritually awake. So then you can actually feel that energy moving inside your body, so you can move the energy where it needs to be moved. And that is the reason why they live
Uh-huh.
so long. And the people that in our culture are 80 years old are basically bedridden, and in monasteries they're
Hmm.
still doing splits or handstands, which even the younger generation wouldn't be able to cope with.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and yeah, that's Yeah, that's very fascinating because um, the different world views and ways that we experience and live in the life on this planet certainly makes a big difference. Yeah, makes a big difference in um, uh, the result.
It's
In terms of
definitely like a
the
different world.
quality of life. Yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. I would like to know if what would be the final thing, the thing that you would most want to communicate and let people know about uh, what you do or what you would want to
Mhm.
impart to them.
My message to you that is listening this podcast is relax.
Mm,
Everything between heaven and earth is perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You don't need to fight with yourself every and each day just so you can blend in with the environment. You can be yourself because everyone else is already taken, and you can only excel at being you. And maybe there will be a time that you will be able even to let go of being you and become part of something bigger. And with all things in life, when you are ready, a master will appear. Obviously, the
mhm,
last stage of life always need to be walked alone because only life and only your spirit can guide you. But if somehow what I'm saying resonates with you, I would be grateful for this opportunity to lead you through the difficulties of life so you don't get caught into extremes like on this boat during the ride you would be caught up from one extreme to another extreme, like hitting rocks from one side to the another, eventually spoiling that beautiful bold boat sailing experience. And if you would be sailing to the middle, you would be able to experience it to much deeper level of joy, the golden middle. And this is what I'm about to ensure that you are on your path. You're doing the mission that you have been given to do, ensuring that you also focus on the growth of the spirit. And even if there are mistakes made, you are learning from them. Your body is healthy, your mind is strong, and your soul is singing because she loves what she is experiencing. You can find me on my page called sageandy.com or using Facebook, which is facebook.com/ your courage catalyst. And I believe we could do great work together.
excellent, excellent. And we will have that information in the space below in the video as to make sure that people are able to get in touch with you and learn more about your work and what you have to offer, the kinds of benefits that they can gain uh, from your your work and your mission. And lastly, I would like you to, if you want, to explain a little bit about the llamas in your background, and let the people know what that's about.
It all started some time ago. I was with a group of friends that I call the sinners of the Fat Club because all of them have possessed very strong psychic abilities to the extent that what we experienced, what would could be called madness to other people. And one of them told me once that he has an ability to see previous animal lives just by observing the body. And he told me I was a llama. Initially, I become curious because llama is this funny animal that spits on people. But as I was learning and growing, I realized that this is a nice gift. So I realized I want to learn it too. So I kind of did, and I started exploring what was in the past. And eventually, I saw myself as a llama, looking funny. And again, I didn't like that. I didn't appreciate that. But eventually, while I was exploring different things, I went to study llamas too, and the traits that they have are very strong in me. They are sometimes used as guard animals that they protect the weaker of their kind, and that is pretty much me. I was always very protective of my friends, and I decided that I will embrace it and use it as my logo. So here it is. There are llamas on my logo, on my back screen, and in my life.
Ah, excellent, excellent. Well, that's very wonderful, and I love that story. And so, I want to thank you again for being on the Deep Soul Work podcast, Andy Kozloski, um, healer, practitioner. Namaste, and thank you again. Thank,
The pleasure is all mine.
thank you.